Parashat Mishpatim follows the giving of the Torah, which was a grand and dramatic narrative with a very long and dense list of mitzvot. But most of the mitzvot presented in this week's parsha are not do this, don't do that, but they're rather mitzvot of when this goes wrong, this is how we fix it. And here we are introduced to a very powerful innovation of the Torah, which is the famous maxim of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And the very idea that there can be financial restitution for bodily harm is actually something that the Torah innovated. There were societies at the time, and we see in things like Hammurabi's code, that they actually would put out people's eyes if they put out somebody else's eye. So our commentators try and understand, well, why is this appropriate? And there are those who would say that really it would be better if we would put out the person's eye, but we can't have a society with people with so many missing eyes, and so we'll do, the best we can do is to find them financially. Another approach suggests that that the righteous care for their possessions more than they care for their own body, and it's actually a harsher punishment. You want to hurt somebody, you hit them in the wallet. But both of these approaches are somewhat lacking because they still see justice as punitive. You harmed somebody, so we're going to fine you, we're going to punish you. The Kabbalists understand this a little bit differently. They go from what Rashi told us last week, how before we received the Torah at Mount Sinai, we camped as one person with one heart. And they take this a little more literally and understand that the Jewish people are really one living organism. And just as in any living organism, the way that resources are transported from one part of the organism to another is with the circulatory system. So too, the economy serves that function to move goods and services and resources from one part of the organism to another. And so when a damage has been done to a particular organ, it wouldn't make sense to go and do more damage to another organ. Rather, what we need to do is bring the resources, bring the money from one place to another. And in fact, the Torah uses the word damim to mean both blood and money. And it's the very same word. And this shows that the understanding of the economy is the circulatory system of the Jewish people. This also shows why it's so important to give tzedakah, and in particular the mitzvah of a free loan. That when there's someone who needs more resources in order to get themselves on their feet, we can front them those resources because they belong, really, we want to facilitate healing and facilitate the growth and the well-being of the entire organism. And when we can pass the goods that we have on to another by means of the circulatory system of blood and money, so this allows us to facilitate healing of the entire organism. I wish for us all that when we look at the world, we should look for restorative justice and not punitive justice, to look to find ways that we can help rather than look for someone to blame. Shabbat Shalom.